No, let's back up and unpack that, because you've hit on something that I talk about ad nauseum on this show. I like it drives me insane. One, yes, she had to have hired. Somebody tweeted it out a long time ago. Props to whatever PhD candidate got the job as speechwriter for Hillary Clinton, right? Because they have been lending and loaning Hillary Clinton the language of intersectionality for the last, I would get at least the last 6 months of this race, right? So she's hitting all the points on intersectionality, and she's doing it seamlessly, and it's so perfect in some cases that you realize it's absolutely not her, especially when you see her unscripted and you see her reaction and you see the way that she has this condescension that just flows naturally from her, so much more naturally than her tweets. That's number one. But then two, the other thing that you hit on that I want to unpack is their usage of this language of, I guess, intersectionality again, of respectability, not respectability politics, but identity politics is what I'm looking for. This language of identity politics to the detriment of class. And I think it has created a fissure, a division in the party or in this left-leaning side of America, where you're either going to focus on identity or you want to focus on class. And I think it has been just so exposed by this race in particular because of Hillary Clinton's manipulation of identity politics. I just want you to unpack that a little bit more and some of the examples that you've seen and why it frustrates you, I think, as much as it frustrates me.
Well, there's a number of things she's done. I mean, one of the most notorious is saying that, is breaking up the big banks going to fix racism? Is it going to fix homophobia? Is it going to fix sexism? No. I mean, these kinds of things where you see how neoliberals like Hillary Clinton have been able to use the language of identity to shut down issues related to economic inequality. And that's what neoliberalism really is all about. It's all about hiring Black and brown CEOs to say, we fixed it, you guys, like we fixed it. That's the problem. That's why, I mean, that's what the Democratic Party is about and has done for a while now, is it's pretty right wing when it comes to economics. It's been for several decades since, Bill Clinton came to office. It's completely abandoned working class issues. And everything is about language and how you talk and making sure you use the respectable kind of language. And that's where identity politics comes in. I mean, I think identity politics, maybe there's a place for diversity, of course. Like there should be more diverse, boardrooms. There should be more diverse, the Congress should be more diverse. The cabinet of the president should be more diverse. We should have presidents who aren't white men, yes. At the same time, I think it's really important that we recognize how in a lot of ways that is how the establishment has been able to dupe us into thinking that we're making progress, when in fact, when it comes to economic inequality, it's been the complete opposite. You've got, larger, wealth inequality is higher than it's been in decades, it's like things like this. You have people who are like really struggling to get by. The middle class is shrinking. People are getting poorer. These, this is very important to recognize and understand because, and I think it is, I think this election has really brought it to the fore. And I think with a lot of the more prominent pundits that you see arguing in favor of Hillary Clinton, it's easy for them to see diversity as the answer to everything, to see just having more Black and brown faces as the answer, because they don't have to deal with high health insurance costs. They can afford to pay for everything. They don't need free college. I'm talking about, like the people who are most hardcore in the news media that are for Hillary. They don't have to deal with these things. So it's easier for them to just kind of push that aside and just be about, we want a woman president, yay. But like for millennials, though, especially I think you see the numbers of women millennials who are, like 70% for Bernie. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that millennials are struggling more economically than, our parents were, or even like a couple, or like one generation above us is. And so it's just really frustrating to see the conversation go that way. But I think it also is very good. I've been a critic of some of the way identity politics has functioned on the left, especially on college campuses. Like I've been somewhat of a critic of that. And I do have to say it's really refreshing that college campuses are actually, the most vibrant and electric places for Bernie Sanders. Yeah. Because I think that demonstrates a rejection of the way that neoliberalism tries to use identity politics to to get people on the left to support the Hillary Clinton type figures.
And that has been, and here's the problem, right? The problem in my opinion is that, there have been so many fights that we've had to fight in regards to identity, for minorities, for the LGBTQ community, for, just across the board. There's so many issues that we've had to fight that needed to be fought. Yes. But now it's at the point where they've taken it to a level where it has become useful against their own party, against their own, and I guess what the thing that really is sobering is that you have to come full circle and say, if they're so willing to use identity politics to the detriment of what we thought were their values and their progressive values, you really have to ask yourself, did they ever have these progressive values in the first place? Because it looks like, to me, this primary looks like the death pangs of liberalism. Like neoliberalism is fighting for its life. It's fighting not only for its life, but it's fighting for control. And it's just kicking and flailing its legs and arms, to doing everything it can to suppress progressivism. And now I'm like, did these people ever believe this? Was it just always a convenient mechanism to usher in a right-leaning economic Democratic Party?
I think for the Clintons, it's the second thing. It's the latter of what you said. They've never been progressives. I mean, they came in, they're a part of the wing of the Democrats, the New Democrats, right? And they came in with the idea of really getting rid of that more progressive agenda to be centrist, so that they don't lose the country, after the country was really conservative back in the 80s. And in order to win it back, they wanted to veer right instead of stay left, and that's what happened. And so, and at first, I think one thing that's really interesting is that under Bill Clinton, I think what the Democrats tried to do, or the New Democrats tried to do, is they tried to employ the Southern strategy in their own way. Like with the way that Bill Clinton, tried to get white working class voters to come back to the Democratic Party. And it didn't really work. And so instead they ended up, aligning with corporate, like the corporate America. That's the Democratic Alliance became corporate America and minority voters, and then more progressive minded white people. And that's kind of how it's been for a while. But I think that that's cracking right now because of the economic situation in this country. And I think it's been to the detriment of everybody, because a lot of the people I think that are coalescing around Donald Trump right now are people that have been completely abandoned by the Democratic Party. I'm not excusing the violence and racism we see at Donald Trump rallies. However, I think it's important to understand that Donald Trump is also using an identity politics, right? Yep. He's employing identity politics by appealing to racism and xenophobia, and he's appealing to people who are doing poorly right now, people who are hurting, and whether they're putting that anger and pain into the wrong place. I mean, you have to recognize that white working class and poor America is hurting right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really short-sighted, especially when I see like the more Clinton type voters. It's really, really short-sighted to just kind of dismiss all the Donald Trump voters. Yeah. All those people as just racist people who shouldn't be reached out to at all and can't be saved in any way. Mm-hmm. And I actually think that's why this election's so important, because if you really want to beat someone like Donald Trump, you have to understand that the movement he's created, the momentum he's created, it's not going to go away once he's gone, and it's going to go somewhere. And I think the message that Bernie Sanders is offering is kind of like one of the few antidotes to the sort of anger that you see around Donald Trump. And Hillary Clinton is just the epitome of everything those people hate, right? Like, she's just this establishment corporate.
Politically correct, identity politics, pandering, that she is, I can't reiterate that enough, she is the epitome of what they hate about liberals, about the Democratic Party.